Hey, and welcome to the highlights of episode number 207 with Gunny Sodhi. Some of my favorite parts of this episode were when he shares his tips on how to heal PTSD. I also loved it when he shares the powerful exercise that can help you release your inner trauma. Plus, when he talks about why you need to really feel your emotions in order to release them. But there is so much more wisdom and inspiration that you get in the full episode. So, to listen to the full podcast and get all the info in the show notes, head on over to melissaambrosini.com/207 right now. Gunny, it is so great to have you on the show. Can you tell us about your story, what it was like growing up in a home full of naturopathic doctors and Ayurvedic doctors, and how you've got to where you are today?
Sure, yeah. I think when you mentioned it's a very unique setup, it really was. In fact, it was so unique that sometimes, I would feel like an outsider at times because of the concepts of, just how differently we looked at diet, how differently we looked at food, and how differently we looked at just some of the spiritual practices that we're going. So when I grew up, I share this story with other people too, especially I came here when I was 5 years old. So I kind of did the whole, my schooling, I'd say the majority of my schooling here. But a lot of times a lot of my friends would eat lunches at the cafeteria and would eat the traditional food, the pizzas that were there. And if I look back at it now, I'm like, my goodness, I can't believe that was school approved food. I mean, it was not the healthiest of options. It tasted good, yes, but it wasn't the healthiest of options. And here I am, I'm bringing home cooked meals, no chips, no juices. I had, greens. I had traditional Indian food. So, I mean, sometimes people are like, what is that? What is that funky or weird smell? So that was a little interesting for me to get used to that. But that's kind of where it started. And then even at home, my dad would always make these tinctures. I would go to his clinic when I was really young and I'd see him mixing herbs and giving it to people and how people felt. And some people came to him very ill and other people just wanted to kind of build on their wellness. He would do shirodaras, which are, the dripping of the oil massages. And I would learn about those. I would learn about the mind-body connection. I would also learn about how essential oils are important, about massage therapy, panchakarma. So I really was exposed to this really, really early. But I don't believe I understood what all of it meant until much later in my life. And that much later happened through tragedy. Fast forward to my college years, still watching what I ate, but feeling like I was invincible. Nothing could get you. I mean, a lot of us in college and growing up, and I think we feel like that. Actually, I was on a phone with my brother. So my brother had just entered college, and I was living on campus. So two brothers planning the weekend. Of course, what are we planning? Where are we going out? Whose party are we going to? Who's bringing what? Are you spending the night? Okay, do mom and dad know? Okay, great. So, not really much else thinking about it, rather just thinking about the weekend and where are we going and whose party are we hitting up. So that was a little bit earlier. And then after that, at 2:10 p.m., Melissa, I get this call from his best friend. And his best friend is kind of slurring his words. He goes, Rishi's been in an accident. Rishi's been in an accident. I'm like, okay, calm down. Is he okay? Can you get a hold of him? What's going on? Is he okay? And all he said to me was, he's not picking up. I don't know. He's not picking up. And of course, when that happened, I hung up the phone and I tried to call him and he didn't pick up. On the way to the accident scene, Melissa, I turned on the radio and that was when it really hit me. There was an announcement made that there had been a fatal accident on a road that was by our house. And I kept praying that I was like, my God, this cannot be happening. And I hope it's not my brother. I hope it's not my brother. We get to the scene. They don't let us go in anywhere. I can see his car. They don't let us do anything. They can't tell us if he's okay, if he's alive, what's going on. They tell us to basically go to the hospital. So we go to the hospital. And I see my mom. By now, my family's there, and my mom is literally in a panic, like she's having a panic attack. And they take her and they calm her down. But at that point, Melissa, I knew my brother was gone. And I'll tell you, that is the point in my life when all of the stuff before it just stopped, and life hits you so hard.
First of all, thank you so much for sharing that. There's a couple of things I want to talk to you about, but first of all, I just wanted to chat to you about, because Nick and I were talking about this the other day. When you're in your late teens and your 20s, you do feel invincible, don't you? Like you feel,
Oh yeah.
why do we feel that? Like, why do we feel invincible? Is it because that part of our brain, that common sense part of our brain, hasn't fully developed or something? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think you're spot on. I believe it's absolutely that. Like, and there's studies that have been done that show that the development of the brain at that age of the preteens and the teens, it for rational decision making is just not there. I look back at some of the stuff that I do, and I was like, what were you thinking? Like, I mean, just an example, like, you know, not even old enough to drive, would sneak out the car, drive it around the street, but not the speed limit, speed, and do that. I was like, how dangerous is that?
Mm.
Like, you could have hurt somebody, you could have hurt yourself, and there's other sorts of just things. And I do believe, and getting back to your thing, the invincible thing, I think for a lot of us, yeah, it is that high, and maybe it is also that just we're so early on into life, we haven't really experienced true life. The majority of us are living with our parents. Majority of us are being at that preteen and even teens, our parents are taking care of a lot of things. So I think that having also that lack sense of that not real life responsibility yet, you're not like, you don't have a house yet, you're not really paying the true bills yet, and there's not really a true sense of life responsibility. I think that also plays into it as well.
My dad used to always say to me, as soon as you get in a car, it's like holding a loaded gun.
Yep.
You have
Yep.
your life and everyone else's life right in your fingertips. And he said that to me from such a young age, and it's always stuck with me. But I wanted to chat to you about PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. People just sweep their emotions under. But what that does is it causes dis-ease in the body, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, so if you think about it, what is the definition of emotion? Motion, energy in motion. Most of the time, the emotions that we put under the carpet are negative, right? We don't want to feel the negative emotions. Nobody's going to say no to feeling euphoria or happiness, correct? But if you think about it from a biocellular level, it is still a emotion. And we have at that meditative state, and even when you are at a certain point, you can observe the emotion, feel the emotion, and as soon as you feel it, it really disposes. I mean, it dissolves. Somebody gave me this analogy, and I didn't believe it when I was in my state, that any emotion is almost as strong as imagine like blowing bubbles. And that's the strength they have. It's just how many times you associate it with it and how many times you build a personal story with it is how much it's going to affect you. But an emotion is meant to be felt. If you keep on not feeling it, you're going to build up a resistance and it's going to keep on going. Feel the emotion, and you may have to do it a few times, but if you feel it, you can release it. And if it comes up again, feel it again, feel it again. And I challenge people to do this exercise. I know some people are maybe listen to this and say it's not that easy. I agree, it's not that easy. But the more you develop the habit of doing this, instead of resisting every emotion, your body will have a different response to any emotion that you have, because you will then train your body to properly respond to the emotion as it's trained to do so.
What are your thoughts on TM, transcendental meditation, and Vedic meditation for PTSD?
I think it is extremely powerful because what's happening in meditation is you are coming to that part of your mind and your soul where things can come up, and you will not react to them the same way as perhaps not in the meditative state. When you get into the alpha, theta, beta state, it's much more welcoming to the stuff that you may be resisting. So I think it's very powerful. But I also want to just let people know is like there is amazing studies that when people are depressed or people are anxious, or and it's chronic in their lives, when they are focusing on something else that they're extremely passionate about, it could be painting, speaking, could be just going outside and walking in nature, the the part of the mind that is associated with that shuts down for a period of time when you're there and you're absolutely there. And that can be adopted by the subconscious. So also diversion is very powerful, and finding your purpose is very powerful. And that can also be looked at as a meditation. You don't always have to sit down and focus. Sometimes it's actually counterproductive, because if you sit down and you're constantly focusing on what you don't want, you're going to get what you want. And if you're trying to meditate to get rid of what you don't want, it may not work for some people. It didn't work for me at the start. So I had to kind of divert my mind and get passionate about what I liked. And that distracted my mind from how I wanted to, how I didn't want to feel. And then I started adapting to meditation. So I think you just have to try it out.
I'm curious to know, do you have any other tips or advice for someone who may be experiencing PTSD, stress, overwhelm, anxiety? Besides, focusing on their passion and their purpose, is there anything else that you think would be really helpful for people to explore?
Yeah. What I've done sometimes is, and this is I've heard this is what Bruce Lee used to do. A lot of monks teach this as well. Write down exactly how you're feeling. Exactly. Empty it out. Do a brain empty. Just like you're emptying out your hard drive. Everything that's going on in your mind and even in your heart, write it down on a piece of paper. Write it down. No, don't type it up. Write it down. There is something that happens from the mind to the heart to the arm to the finger to the pen to the paper. Write it out. Everything that you're feeling. And it should be stuff that you no longer want to carry, you no longer want to serve. Write it out. Everything. It could be 1 page, 2 page, 3 pages. And then when you're done writing it, burn it. You may have to do this a few times, but I've done this exercise, and there is like a subconscious release that once you do it, for some reason, I don't have the exact science behind this, but I've done it and it's from my own experience, that energy dissipates. I've seen it. Like, I'm telling you this, and there was things that I cannot even recall what I was worrying about. The exercise is so powerful for me.
How did you realize you wanted to do YouVeda? How did you come up with the idea? And can you explain to us what your company does?
Absolutely. So once I had experienced what I experienced, going through the protocol that my father was, a part of developing, and other things that I had studied in Ayurveda and implemented as well. I was still young, and I knew I wanted to go get my MBA, so I got my MBA. But I always had this entrepreneurial itch. But I had this entrepreneurial itch to really help people. So I recall the events, and I recalled how I felt, and I recalled how great I felt, and the how quickly I was able to get the results. And I said, after I graduated, I said, why not? And I was involved in my family business too. I mean, they also do Ayurveda, but they're much more in the professional side. They sell to doctors, and to me, I had been part of the business, so I had learned, and it was still confusing. Every day I would answer questions about, okay, what can I take this with this? Can I take this with this? And then when the products were on the store shelves, people didn't know how to talk, weren't educated, so it wasn't their fault. They just weren't educated on the products, and most people still to this date. I mean, me and you have heard of ashwagandha, but a lot of people have not, and even curcumin and triphala. So what I saw was there was this big gap, and the gap was, call it like a little sandwich. Okay, the top was supplements, the middle is Ayurveda, and the bottom is about the awareness. So I said, okay, look, supplements are there. A lot of people take supplements. Ayurveda is beginning to get popular, and of course, the awareness is there for all three. But how do we make it simple? And what we did was we decided to research 5 of the most commonly asked about categories. That's what we created. And we support digestion, mood, joints, overall health, and immunity. And we said, okay, let's build formulas around these and let's simplify them. Let's not have 6 different bottles that have Triphala, the Shilajit, Multi. Let's put it all in an easy to carry and convenient packet, which has been designed by the doctors. It's a perfect dosage, and it's tridoshic. So all the doshas can take it, because there is things in there that balance. And at the end of the day, it's going to go in and balance the body. These herbs are intelligent. It's not just you put some powder in a capsule and all of a sudden your body, no, there is an intelligence that comes with the plants and the herbs. And we said, okay, let's do it that way, and package it in a way that's easy and relatable, and control the communication, which is why, we sell online and we sell through online channels more than brick and mortars, because we want to make sure that we give our customers a right education, and we want to make sure that we explain it in a way that it makes sense, and truly do help people. I always tell my wife, and I say, like, I know we're doing good. I have an 8-month-old son. When I pick him up and I look into his eyes, I know it feels good to know that we're helping people. And that's kind of the ethos the business is built on, is always knowing that you're doing the right thing. You're putting the highest quality products. Like when my wife was pregnant, she was taking the mood and digestion products, and throughout. And that's how much we trust them, and the safety. I mean, when you're pregnant, there's tons of things you got to be cautious about. But we worked, of course, with her gynecologist, and said, look, this is what she's taken, and she was great, and she continued to take some of the products, and support herself. So that's kind of the passion, and really I wanted to share how I felt. And it wasn't just supplements. I knew there was meditation, yoga, diet, which is why the app also comes with it and pairs with it. So if you take the mood, you get the supplements, but then you also get the specific mood supportive yoga exercises, the mood supportive meditations, and the mood supportive food recommendations. And it all works in under the whole balance and wellness, which is Ayurveda.
I love that. How important is it that you find something that you're passionate about and you do that in this world? Like, how important is that in the whole holistic wellness package?
That's a great question, Melissa. In my opinion, I hold it as one of the most important things you can discover about yourself. And I'll tell you why. When you have discovered your life's true purpose, it will help you get through the hardest days. It'll help answer the why. And when I say the hardest days, you run a business. People that run a business, it's not always smooth sailing. There's some days when you're like, oh my goodness, I got to deal with this, I got to deal with this, and sometimes it's hard to get out of bed. But when you have that purpose, that greater purpose that is the foundation, that really helps. And my purpose is when some days are hard, but I look back and say, but you know what? Look at the difference we made in this person's life. Look at how we made this person feel. Look at them. Look at this. Look at this testimonial. This person called and said this. That will make me get out of bed no matter what. And I believe that finding your purpose, don't make it this complicated thing. Go within. And this is where I think the meditation really helps. And this is where I think, listen to yourself. What are you naturally gravitate towards? I mean, is it music? Is it film? What do you gravitate towards? And explore those. Go intern for those things. Go ask somebody who's doing it. What do they like? Go shadow them. In today's day and age, with how connected we are, I believe it really is a great time to find out.
So, YouVeda has been wildly successful. What do you attribute your success to?
It goes down to one thing: caring. And there's a multifaceted answer to caring. Is we go above and beyond in caring about our customers and caring about producing the best product that we can produce and Mother Nature allows us to produce. First and foremost, that's why we don't produce too many products, is because to make such great products, it takes time, it takes effort. It takes you have to qualify the suppliers, you have to qualify the vendors. You may not be able to get the greatest sourcing because the vendor maybe doesn't have the same ethos, or they're just about mass production, and you're much more about honoring Mother Nature. So caring about everything, about how the product is made, how it's packaged, how it's brought to the customer. And then second thing is truly going above and beyond for customer service. I really think one of the main reasons that we have been able to sustain the customer base that we have is because of the customer service. We listen, and we're easy to get a hold of. Everything is answered. We listen. There was feedback about our packaging being a little, earlier on we didn't have the single shipper. So people are saying it's a little wasteful. And we said, yes, we agree. We're taking a look into it. Within 2 months, we implemented the single shipper. We reduced not the waste, but the extra material by 33%. Now we're getting some feedback that, can you guys look into making eco-friendly and recyclable pill package, the pouches? And we're already on it. We're reviewing samples. we were talking to vendors and we plan to implement this within 3 months. So really caring about the customers, really listening to the feedback and really caring about what you do, and having a positive communicative message about it, and just doing the right thing.